Hi, and welcome to a special edition of Kate's Paper Creations, where I am going to talk a little bit about the Ornamental Elements Envelopes bundle, which is available in the current mini catalog. It's shown on page 40 of your catalog, and it comes with the dies, or you can get the bundle that does the dies and the stamps. In the die set, I'll show you a larger picture. There are dies that will cut out this ornament group and some of these small ornaments, and then there's some borders and cutouts and things as well that are in that set. Now, I bought this set of dies, and the thing of it is, I don't typically buy Stampin' Up! Envelopes. This is a typical Stampin' Up! Envelope. It has this edge on it, and these dies were made to work with that kind of an envelope. But the envelopes that I have a square flap. And so these dies didn't, well, in a way they could work, but they weren't made for this particular style. So I loaned them to a friend of mine, another one of my demonstrators downline, and she's playing with it a little bit, and she's going to come back with some things later on. But in the meantime, I decided to get a little bit creative with what I had. So let me share with you some inspiration that you can actually use to increase what you do with that die set and that stamp set. So what I did is I took my envelope and I created two different templates. Excuse me, I had to think for a second. I created one template that would work for covering the outside flap of the envelope like this. And then I created another template that would work for doing the inside of the envelope to make a liner where it would come in and just line up with the edge of the adhesive part and to put the liner in. And then I went through my dies and all of my dies and different things to see what I could do with what I had. So let me start with this one. I had this card, and this paper came from I don't remember all the papers, but anyway, this was one of the designer series papers, and I used this liner template and I cut it out, and I just put an edge of adhesive right along the edge here, tucked it in and taped it right there, and then folded it down so that it makes a really nice envelope liner for my envelope, for my card. So that's just one thing. Then I had this card that I had made, and I used a piece of the Flowers for Every Season designer series paper, and for that one I also just traced and cut out the liner. So I just placed this template right on my designer series paper. You can turn it over because it's reversible, and that way your pencil marks would be on the back. Trace it with the pencil and cut it out with scissors. That's how I did it. And so that created a liner for that envelope, for that card I mean. Then I had this card, and for this one I used paper again from the Flowers for Every Season. I had used it here for the background on this little tag, and so then I put it on the envelope as well. This is on the outside, so when you close the envelope. Now what I did is I used my double-sided adhesive sheets, and I covered the back of this paper before I cut it out so that these edges were all sticky and would stay stuck down well and wouldn't get caught up on something when you mailed it. And this particular border came from the stamp set, the die set Stitched Be Mine, and you can just barely see it, but there's some stitch marks here and here, and I let it be just a little bit shorter, and so the white of the edge of the envelope shows through, but you wouldn't have to do that. You could actually put this on the envelope and cut envelope and all, because it wouldn't take away enough of the adhesive part of the envelope to cause any issues. It would still seal very well. So that's that one. This one, I just took some of this designer series paper that I had here, and I just cut out one of the borders, and this border came from Wild Rose Dies, and I used it to just create that and stick it on the envelope. And again, I put the double-sided adhesive on the back, so when I peeled it up, it would stick down really well. So that's what I did with that one. Keep messing up my papers here. Then I had several of these cards that I had made. So for this one, I used ornate borders. And again, you can see just a little tiny bit there. And that's for that envelope. I kind of like having the flap done instead of the liner, but it's totally a choice. This is also from Ornate Borders, my little cheat sheets so I can remember everything. Ornate Borders, I did that as well. And this is, again, the same paper that I used on the card from Flowers for Every Season. And again, just covered the flap. This one, same DSP. And from this one, I used the Ornate Layers, and this is one of the dies that cuts out a layer. And again, I put the adhesive on it, so when you lay it down, it's permanent and it won't come up when you're mailing it. Then here's another one of those, same thing, where I used the Ornate Layers, and it had the cutout there. So I did that for that envelope. And you can see how that looks. Then this one, I just made these cards yesterday at a workshop, and for this one I used the peony dies, and there's a border in there, and it makes this lovely little scallop, and there's just very faint to see, but there's a design in there as well. And again, just put the stuff on the back, the adhesive on the back, stuck it to the envelope flap, and ran the envelope flap and the die, all of it at the same time through it. There's enough adhesive left behind to still seal perfectly fine. And so there's an envelope for that one. And then the last one here, it's another the same card, also the same designer series paper, and this border came from the new stamp set called Autumn Essentials. And again, I just put the double-sided adhesive on. I cut through with the die through all the pieces, the envelope and the liner piece and everything, so that everything is stuck down really well, and it leaves plenty of adhesive to seal the envelope when you're mailing the card. So that's just some ideas. Those are things that you could also be doing with the sets that you have. You could easily trace your Stampin' Up! Envelope and create your own template. Take that flap. You could even cut it off and use it as a template by itself, or trace it and make a template. And then it's a matter, once you get the flap part, then it's just a matter of extending it down about 2 inches so that it'll go down into the envelope part of the way. It doesn't have to go down all the way. And then you could make your own that way as well. I do have to say that I probably will come back to this set that I bought and play with it some more. It's got some lovely things that you can use and some lovely stamps that you can add to your envelope flaps. And of course they show cutting it and using it on the inside, creating that liner piece. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you and let you know that there are alternatives sometimes to what's available out there and how we can make it work. Hope you enjoyed the video today. Thanks for stopping by.